मीडिया वेज के प्लेटफॉर्म तो खबरों का लेखा जोखा प्रोग्राम के अंतर्गत आप सबका निੱਘਾ स्वागत है जी आया ਨੂੰ।
Khabran Da Lekha Jokha May 29, 2024 has been sponsored by Hanif Litigation. Any criminal or regulatory law matters, contact Hanif Litigation lawyer Shahid Hanif, 604-626-3144. Police move in on UBC pro-Palestinian protesters calling on admin to meet demands. Police officers are moving in on pro-Palestinian protesters taking part in the encampment at UBC after they ramped up their actions against the university's administrators Wednesday morning. Dozens of protesters gathered in the areas of University Boulevard and Westbrook Mall before 9 a.m. and created problems for buses getting in and out of the area. A rally organized by People's University for Gaza at UBC began at 11 a.m. and RCMP and Vancouver Police Department officers quickly moved in, threatening arrest around 11:10 a.m. As of 11:30 a.m., at least 3 protesters have been arrested, with police also threatening to arrest members of the media. Pro-Palestinians on Tuesday night, the activists gave the university's president until 8 a.m. to give in to their demands, including divesting from companies that have links to Israel and stopping any research projects with Israeli universities. According to the UBC's People's University president Benoit Antone Bacon's recent comments on the Standing Committee of Justice and Human Rights in Ottawa on Monday showed that the university is not acting in good faith.
ਇਹ UBC ਵਿਖੇ ਫਲਸਤੀਨ ਦੇ ਹੱਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੁਜ਼ਾਹਰੇ ਨੇ ਆਸ਼ਾ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾਤਰ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਵੱਡੀ ਪੱਧਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਔਰ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ UBC ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੁਜ਼ਾਹਰੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਡੈਡਲਾਈਨ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕੰਪਨੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦਾ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਰੱਖਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਮੁਲਕ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਸੰਬੰਧਿਤ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਨੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਤੋੜੇ ਜਾਣ। ਔਰ ਇਹ ਡਿਮਾਂਡ ਬੜੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਪੱਧਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ ਤਬਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਠੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਹਿਰਾਸਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਿਰਾਸਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਹੋਰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਵਧਣ ਦੇ ਆਸਾਰ ਹੈਗੇ।
Restaurant group against BC increasing minimum wage. This Saturday, the minimum wage in BC will go up to 65 cents to $17.40 an hour. But the BC Asian Restaurants Cafe Owners Association thinks that's a bad idea and is urging the provincial government not to raise it anymore. Association President David Chung says the higher wages go, prices at your favorite eateries will also have to rise, potentially putting some places out of business. He believes eating out in today's economy is a treat for many, and if people don't want to spend more to eat out, it will hurt owners. They still want the luxury to eat out, but they spend less. Where they used to spend $100, now they want to spend the same amount. So what do? They eat cheaper stuff, less stuff, explained Chang. The other group of people getting hurt in all this, according to Chang, is the consumer. Because we have to raise prices, otherwise we cannot survive. Owners can only be hurt for so long. They cannot afford it any longer. They'll close the restaurant, he said.
ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਮਿਨੀਮਮ ਵੇਜਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਵਾਧੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਸ਼ਾ ਨਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਆਵਾਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਰੈਸਟੋਰੈਂਟ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਨੇ। ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਵਪਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਰੱਖਣ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਹੋਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਾਸਿਓਂ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਵਧੀਆ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ EMPLOYEES ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਰ ਆਵਰਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਘੰਟਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦਰ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਤਨਖਾਹ ਦੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਾਧਾ ਅਲਟੀਮੇਟਲੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੰਜ਼ਿਊਮਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪਾਸ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਣਾ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਲੋਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਮਹਿੰਗਾਈ ਦਾ ਸ਼ਿਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਪੈਸਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਖਰਚਣਾ ਪਏਗਾ।
ਵੈਸੇ Delta Mayor cancels international trip to conference to avoid being a distraction. Delta Mayor George Harvey has confirmed he has decided to cancel an upcoming work trip to the Netherlands. The move comes after Harvey was questioned over recent travel expenses he has incurred while in public office. Harvey shared in a statement that he won't attend the international conference on urban drainage and study tour on green infrastructure planned for early June. The trip was set to include meetings with the city of Rotterdam and presentations about urban drainage and flooding, Harvey said. He said the conference aligns with Metro Vancouver's work to develop and update the region's liquid waste and drinking water management plans, which would help Metro Vancouver with its delivery of these services for the future. I have come to the difficult decision to forego this learning opportunity. I do not wish to be a distraction to the ongoing work at Metro Vancouver, he said. Reports suggest that the mayor, who was recently ousted as chair of Metro Vancouver, had denied answering questions about his travel expenses that have racked up to a big sum this year. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation confirmed in an email that Harvey's international airfare tab totaled up to $38,000, inclusive of a trip to Brisbane, Australia in October 2023, where the airplane ticket alone was over $17,000. In this statement, Harvey said he will remain on Metro Vancouver Mayor's Committee after his term as a chair ends on July 1st.
ਡੈਲਟਾ ਦੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਅਕਸਰ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੋਈ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਆਇਆ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਔਰ ਬੜੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਮਿਊਨਿਸਪੈਲਿਟੀ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਪਰ ਰੀਸੈਂਟਲੀ ਕੁਝ ਕੁ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਚੇਅਰ ਤੋਂ ਲਾਂਬੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਣ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੰਗ ਹੈ ਕਾਰਨ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸੈਰ ਸਪਾਟਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੈਕੇਜਸ ਨੇ ਨਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਉਣ ਜਾਣ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਖਰਚੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਐਡੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਹੁਤਾਤ ਹੈ ਆਸ਼ਾ ਨਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਡੈਲਟਾ ਦੇ ਸਾਬਕਾ ਮੇਅਰ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਬੜੀ ਚਿੰਤਾ ਜਤਾਈ ਆ ਔਰ ਆਮ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਦੀ ਖਿਲਾਫਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਆਖਰਕਾਰ ਫਾਈਨਲੀ ਡੈਲਟਾ ਦੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਟ੍ਰਿਪ ਆ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਾਉਂਗਾ
Two men charged for human smuggling on trains across BC-US border. The United States Homeland Security Agency has arrested two men connected to a human smuggling scheme on railway border crossing between the U.S. and British Columbia. Court documents from the U.S. Attorney's Office showed Jesus Ortiz Plata and Juan Pablo Gorella Medina was accused of transporting people from Vancouver to Washington State and Oregon, many of whom arrived in BC specifically to cross the border. These defendants have allegedly been linked to an extremely dangerous smuggling scheme where people are located into freight cars or trains traveling from Canada into the U.S., said U.S. Attorney Tessa M. Gorman. Being locked in a freight train car is dangerous. There is no control over the heat, cold, or ventilation, and people can be injured or killed by shifting freight. In one dangerous instance last August, some 29 people were rescued from the boxcar filled with plastic pallets. The Attorney's Office says since 2022, investigators encountered non-citizens who had illegally attempted to cross the border. A phone number later linked to Ortiz Plata kept coming up as the number the non-citizens were supposed to contact. The office said Ortiz Plata was followed to a home in Everett, Washington, where he, Medina, and two others were arrested. Medina was a resident of the apartment where the man had been staying. Medina was arrested and was identified by one non-citizen as the person who had picked him up after they crossed into the U.S. The U.S. Attorney's Office says Ortiz Plata and Medina are facing charges including conspiracy to commit illegal transportation of a non-citizen for private financial gain, which it says is punishable by up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 USD fine.
ਅੱਛਾ ਨਾ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਤਸਕਰੀ ਦੀ ਨਾ ਇੱਕ ਨਵੀਂ ਉਦਾਹਰਨ ਆਈ ਹੈ ਵੈਸੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਾਰਾਂ 'ਚ ਗੱਡੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਟਰੰਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂ ਫਾਰਮਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਰਡਰ ਕ੍ਰਾਸ ਕਰਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਹਾਣੀਆਂ ਬੜੇ ਲੰਬੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਪਰ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਤਸਕਰੀ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਵਾਂ ਰਾਹ ਲੱਭਿਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਾਲ ਗੱਡੀ ਹੈ ਮਾਲ ਰੇਲ ਗੱਡੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਤੋਂ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਵੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਗਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਹੱਦ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਡੇਂਜਰਸ ਹੈ
Absolutely. Charges against world's top golfer Scotty Scheffler dropped after arrest outside PGA Championship. Criminal charges against Scotty Scheffler has been dismissed, ending a legal saga that began with images of the world's top male golfer being arrested and handcuffed in Louisville during the PGA Championship. Jefferson County Attorney Mike O'Neill asked Judge Wednesday afternoon to drop the 4 charges against Scheffler, who was not required to be in the courtroom. The prosecutor said his team reviewed the case in a thorough and expeditious manner. Based upon the totality of the evidence, my office cannot move forward in the prosecution of the charges filed against Mr. Schaffler, O'Connell said during the hearing that lasted less than 10 minutes. Mr. Schaffler's characterization that this was a big misunderstanding is corroborated by the evidence. Schaffler was charged with a felony for assaulting a police officer with his vehicle, along with 3 misdemeanors. The arresting office, Detective Brian Gillis, was outside the gate of Valhalla Golf Course May 17, directing traffic after pedestrian death when he encountered Schaffler. Schaffler, 27, was driving PGA courtesy vehicle when Gillis said he refused to comply and accelerated forward, dragging Gillis to the ground. Gillis said his uniform pants were damaged in the fall and was taken to the hospital for his injuries. A surveillance video released by Louisville police last week showed Gillis pursuing Schaffler's vehicle on foot and stopping him from entering the course. Schaffler is later pulled from the car and cuffed, but the video did not show Gillis' first contact with Schaffler, authorities said. Gillis has been disciplined for not activating his body-worn cameras during the arrest. In a report on that failure, Gillis wrote that Schaffler had demanded to be let in the golf course. Schaffler has said that simply misunderstood the commands coming from traffic officers. The famous golfer spent a brief stint in a jail cell, then returned to the course for the second round. He finished the tournament tied for 8th place.
ਜਗਤ ਪ੍ਰਸਿੱਧ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗੋਲਫਰ ਹੈ ਆਸ਼ਾ ਨਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਿਰਫ ਔਰ ਸਿਰਫ ਆਪਣੇ ਟੂਰਨਾਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਰਟਿਸਿਪੇਟ ਕਰਨ ਜਾਣ ਦੀ ਔਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਵਿਘਨ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵਾਰਤਾਲਾਪ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਇੱਕਦਮ ਐਕਸੀਲੇਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡੀ ਉਦਾਹਰਨ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਇਸ ਨੇ बहुत ज़्यादा चारे पासे चर्चा का विषय बनिया है।
बिल्कुल, इसी के साथ खबरां दा लेखा जोखा प्रोग्राम से इजाजत दीजिए। Until next time, goodbye and be safe.